everybody's still marking cards. So in a couple of months, I'm turning 45, which somehow seems like a big birthday. And my kids are always telling me, you know, how old I'm so old. And yet I still feel like I'm waiting to feel like a grown-up. And I just keep wondering when that's gonna happen. So like 45, like I basically like that's kind of middle age, right? Like I should feel like a grown-up at this point. But I sometimes do and I sometimes don't. And I think when I say that, or when one says that, what we're looking for is a feeling of maturity, right? So that's our word of the week, maturity. And what does that mean? So to me, maturity is sort of this state of being settled in who you are, right? Not apologizing for perceived shortcomings and sort of no need to really prove anything anymore, you know? Acknowledging that there's not really a first mover advantage anymore when you grow older. That's like reserved for youth. It's this state of recognizing that of all that it took for you to arrive where you are, and sort of taking a pride in that, you know, that it took work and wisdom and just recognizing where you've arrived. And recognizing that you've been dealt some good cards, you've been dealt some crappy cards, but that ultimately, like I feel like by my age, like ultimately I understand that I'm the one who's playing those cards. I'm the one who's playing the hand. And that's, you know, that's powerful. Maturity is the behavioral expression of emotional health and wisdom. The behavioral expression of emotional health and wisdom. Okay, so it's this capacity to know your own emotional experience and to be oriented by that experience towards some truth, and then to place that truth within the context of other truths, right? It's not only our truth, but other truths. And then finally, to act in accordance with one's values. So if I could boil it down, I was thinking maturity is the alignment of truth, who you are, where you know, just the reality of isness, wisdom, everything you know, what it's taken you to get where you are, and then your values. What's important to you? How do you want to stand in the world? How do you want to act in the world? Who do you want to be in the world? So it's the alignment of those three things. And in our yoga practice, you know, we have the opportunity to line up all of those things, right? It's the opportunity to stand in our truth, to connect to what we know, and then to express it as fully as we can, to be who we wish to be in the world. Like that's, to me, that's the ultimate practice of yoga. So that's our practice this morning. Let's close our eyes and take a good seat. If you haven't already, rotate the inner thighs down. Take the flesh from the sit bones. It's like you're setting the stage for successful alignment of those things. And then balance the weight right to left on your sitting bones and slightly forward, right? So sort of towards the front edge of the sit bones, so you're feeling a gentle inward curve in your low back. Then lengthen your tailbone down into that space and feel how, when you do that, the pelvic floor, the low belly tone. And you're sitting a little bit more clearly in your truth. Take a breath in, lengthen through your spine, draw the shoulder blades to the back, draw your ears and your throat back slightly, and just soften into aging gracefully, not fighting what is inevitable today or long term, and ultimately feeling a sense of acceptance with where you've arrived. Deep, radical acceptance. Nothing to prove. No apologies necessary. Just you as you are. Bringing everything you can to the practice today. Bring your hands together at your heart center. To begin this morning, I'd like to chant one Om and the invocation one time, and we'll end with an Om together. I know sometimes the Om isn't sounding, so I'll try to chant a little bit louder so that we stay together. All right, let's take a deep breath in. Om. Om Namah Shivaya Gurave Satchidananda Murtaye Ishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. Softly bow your head to your heart, to the truth and the wisdom that's already there. And as you're ready, release your hands, open your eyes. All right, we're going to start in tabletop. We're going to work a lot today on, I'm going to say core strength, but the abdominal strength, more than just abdominals. But we're going to take a stab at that today. All right, line up in your tabletop, and then take some cat and cow. So arch and round with your breath. And I want you to start feeling in particular these 2 points. So we move through the whole spine when we do this warm-up, but I want you to focus a little bit this morning on 2 points. Your breastbone, right here, and your pubic bone. And I want you to think about moving those 2 points towards each other as you round. So that's sort of stage 1 of abdominal engagement. We can maybe call that wisdom, tapping into an inner knowing. So especially as you're rounding, feel how the sternum and the pubic bone move together and the belly tones, the whole abdominal wall tones, and then as you arch, it gets a little bit of a stretch. Okay, find neutral. So neutral meaning that there is a slight inward curve in the low back. So you still have that lumbar curve, but the thigh bones are pressing back, the tailbone's in, and the sternum and the pubic bone are still gently drawn towards each other. So there's not a collapse. Stretch your right leg back behind you. And let's just do knee to nose a few times, increasing that awareness. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, stretch the leg out long. So this is a front to back engagement. Knee to nose on the exhale. Inhale, stretch it long, and really emphasize your exhale. So all the air out on this last one. Okay, then we're going to take it to this pattern. With your next exhale, right knee to the right elbow. Look to the right. Shorten the space between your right armpit and your right hip. And then inhale, cross the leg behind the left and look over your left shoulder. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, cross to the left. Last one, exhale, right knee to right elbow, connecting into an inner wisdom, a body wisdom. And then cross over, hold here, keep the legs straight. Now shift your hips slightly to the right. Block your right hand, one hand bent forward. Look over your left shoulder. Now on your next exhale, draw the sternum and the pubic bone gently towards each other. So the abdominals engage a little bit more strongly, and you're feeling a stretch into the lower right back body. And a little bit of contraction on the left side body. Okay, walk the right hand back in, uncross the leg, and just come back to center. Good, left leg out behind you. Inhale, stretch the leg long. Exhale, knee to nose, sternum to pubic bone. Inhale, stretch the leg. Exhale, connecting in, sternum to pubic bone, knee to nose. Last one, inhale, stretch long. Exhale, tapping into an inner wisdom. All you know, all that you've learned through all your years. Inhale, stretch the leg back. Now to the side. Exhale, left knee, left elbow. Inhale, cross to the right, look to the right. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, cross to the right, squeeze the inner thighs together. Last one, knee to elbow, armpit to hip, and then stretch over to the right, look over the right shoulder. Take the left hand, one hand print forward, hips slightly to the left. Good. Now, sternum to pubic bone. A little bit of gentle rounding tone, the pelvic floor a little engaged, the low belly drawing in. Okay, good. And then exhale and release, come back to tabletop. Send your hips to your heels, child's pose, walking your hands forward, rest your head down. Breathe deeply. One of the words that came up for maturity when I sort of like geek out and go to the thesaurus and look for different words, and one of the words that came up for maturity was grace. And that's our whole practice, right? Is opening to grace. And then connecting to the grace that's already there. And the breath is what guides us there. So take one more breath here. Okay, inhale, come up to tabletop. Okay, this is a little oblique exercise now. Tuck your toes under in your tabletop. You really want to ground your hands and push into the floor strongly. Now just hover your knees off the floor. Just like an inch or two. Good. Shorten sternum to pubic bone slightly, tone the pelvic floor. Now, take your right knee towards your left elbow, drop your left heel to the floor. So you're doing a twist. Then inhale to center, don't let your knees touch, hover low. And then left knee towards the right elbow, right heel down to center. If you're not clear, you just watch me for a moment. You just stay really low. You should feel this in your belly a lot. So just side to side a few times. Dropping opposite heel, knee to opposite elbow. Keep that action of sternum and pubic bone towards each other. Keep the knees hovering off the floor. Do one more each side. Yeah. And you can drop that opposite heel. So as you're twisting, if your right knee is up, your left heel can come down. All right, good. Stretch back into downward facing dog. Pedal out your feet. And just feel like when I do that, the sides of my waist, the oblique muscles, right? Those are the ones that wrap front to back, side to side around the torso. I can really feel those awake. All right. Inhale, lift your right leg up off the floor. Stretch it long back behind you. And then exhale, curl your knee to your nose. Shorten sternum to pubic bone. Inhale, stretch the leg up behind. Exhale, shoulders forward over wrists, high up on the left tippy toes, knee to nose. One more time, stretch the leg up and back. Exhale, lift everything away from the floor as you bring the knee to the nose, and then stretch the leg back and back to downward facing dog. Second side, inhale, left leg up. Good. Exhale, come forward, knee to nose, lift up high. Good. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, knee to nose, up on the tippy toes of that right foot. Lift your left foot way up away from the floor. He said even as you draw it in. Last one, knee to nose. Inhale, stretch it up and back. Exhale, flip to the floor, stretch full into your dog pose. Inhale, come through to plank. Now see if you can keep that subtle engagement of sternum and pubic bone towards each other. Not so much that you're rounding, but so that there's a gentle engagement there. Knees up or down, up to you. Exhale, lower down, and find your back bend. Stretch long through your legs. Curl the head and the shoulders back. And then even here, a subtle drawing in to wisdom. A subtle drawing together of sternum and pubic bone. Tailbone lengthening. Exhale, back downward facing dog. From here, step or hop Uttanasana, forward bend. And then inhale and come on all the way up. Reach up and stretch up. Exhale, slide the hands to the heart. And release your hands. Okay, good. Stand in Skandasana. So come towards the front edge of your mat. Stand with your feet parallel to one another. We are going to do a sun salute so you can face the short side of your mat and have some space behind you. So some of maturity is using the energy wisely, right? So instead of, using the energy towards, writing the next great American novel or summoning the Matterhorn, for me, it's like saving an energy enough to like pick up my son after marching band competition at like midnight, So using energy wisely, how do we do that? When we tone the muscles, it's not a gripping or a tightness, right? There's just this gentle hugging in. Like, can you use just enough to support your joints as you firm the muscles of your legs? Then slide the inner thighs back, draw the sit bones wide, just like we did when we were seated, setting the stage, then drop the tailbone. And mindfully tone the pelvic floor and the low belly. There's your truth. Good. Then wisdom. Sternum towards the pubic bone a little bit. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, sweep the hands behind the back. Interlace the fingers together. Keep the sternum and the pubic bone moving towards each other. Take a breath here. And then as you exhale, fold over. Keeping the spine long. Stretching the hands to the sky, lifting shoulder blades onto the back. Release your head towards the floor. And take 2 or 3 deep breaths. Exhale and release your hands. Plant your hands on the floor. And again, use energy wisely. Like if it makes sense for you to hop to your dog pose, if that's your truth, then do that. And if it doesn't, then just take a few steps back. We'll meet in dog. Good. As you land into your dog pose, line up. Firm the muscles of the arms and the legs. Again, just enough. Just enough to support the joints, not overdoing it. Nothing to prove, right? That's maturity. Nothing to prove. But then coming into the fullest expression, just like there's a cactus flower that blooms only every 30 years or so, right? It takes that much time to bloom fully. So blossom fully into your dog pose. Stretch long. Inhale, take your right leg up behind you. Okay, we're just going to do 1 core plank. So make it really count. Exhale, knee to nose, up on the left tiptoes. Lift the right foot as high as you can off the floor, then step it between the hands. So you're using that core strength to bring the foot forward. Yeah, well done, you guys. Really good. All right, firm your legs, get steady. And then inhale and rise up. Stretch the hands to the sky. Stand tall, proud, strong. In your authenticity, in your maturity, in your acceptance of yourself, just as you are. Exhale, take the hands down to the floor. Come onto the fingertips. And then here's the opportunity for 3 either jump switches or step switches. And you're using that action, okay, of the pelvic floor drawing in, of the sternum and the pubic bone together to be light on your feet. So be up on your fingertips and either step or hop 3 times, switch your feet. Yeah. And if you're stepping, you're still using that lift of the belly to be just light. Yeah, you guys look great. Okay, back to downward facing dog. Flow through Vinyasa. Inhale the left leg up behind you, dog split. Okay, 1 core plank making it count. So up high onto the tiptoes of the right foot. Draw the left knee in, draw sternum to pubic bone, lift your left foot high off the floor, push into your hands, and then step the foot between the hands. Yeah, awesome. Firm the legs. Inhale the arms up. So for many of us, maybe our strongest days are behind us. Maybe our most firmest days are behind us. But that doesn't mean that we can't just still be here, fully, authentically proud, accepting of who we are. So stretch that awareness into your pose. Exhale, take your hands down to the floor. Be up on your fingertips. Be light, sternum to pubic bone. Get that lift. Connecting into inner truth and wisdom, and then 3 either hops or light steps. If you're hopping, this is also a good prep for handstand prep, right? It's the same action that happens in the belly when you go to handstand. Okay, back to downward facing dog. Full stretch in your dog. Hold or flow through a vinyasa if you wish. Take a full breath in here. Look forward, bend your knees. Lightly step or hop up to the hands. Uttanasana. Inhale, rise all the way up with your breath. And exhale, hands into the heart. Release your hands. Okay, so we talked about truth and wisdom, two different actions of the body. So setting the stage, thighs back, tailbone in, pelvic floor, that's one aspect of core, right? Truth. Then there's wisdom, sternum to pubic bone drawing towards each other so that you're feeling the muscles here activate. Here's the last one. Take your hands onto your front ribs, your thumbs to your back ribs. Now, without overly rounding your back, draw your front ribs together, slide your thumbs up your back ribs, so it's this action of the front ribs. And feel how the back body puffs out a little bit. The waistline, the kidney area fills up. Now, if you feel like you've sort of over-rounded, we're going to call that third stage values, tapping into what's important, okay? And if you feel like you've overly rounded, then shoulder blades pull onto the back. Join your hands to your heart. We're going to work with those three actions throughout the practice. Inhale, reach up and stretch up. As you reach up, feel how the sternum and the pubic bone want to move away. Feel how the front ribs want to pop. So resist that. Stay connected to your wisdom, to your truth, to your values. Exhale, fold forward, hands down to the floor. But inhale and lengthen. Exhale, plant your hands and either step or hop, downward facing dog. Okay. Inhale, come to plank. So similar to what we did before, we're going to do it, we did from dog, this time we're going to do it in plank. It's a little bit harder. Lift your right toes off the floor. You can always do this with your left knee down. So if it's too much with the left knee up, put your left knee on the floor. Now exhale, without taking your nose to your knee, take your knee up between your arms. Sternum to pubic bone, front ribs knitting together. Inhale, stretch the leg back. Exhale, bring the knee forward, lifting the belly. Truth, wisdom, values. Last one, stretch the leg out. Draw the knee in, and then step it between the hands. Yeah. Okay, well done. Come up to warrior two, spin down your back heel. Good. Bend your right knee into a square and track the knee. Press it to the pinky edge of your foot. So it's pointing straight ahead. See if you can get a deep bend into that knee. Straighten out the back leg. Broaden the inner thighs from each other. Drop your tailbone. Stretch tall through your spine. Let the pose be an embodiment. Embodying the pose as fully as you can. Embodying your own maturity, your own wisdom and truth as fully as you can. From here, Skandasana, forearm onto the thigh. We'll take the modified version to start. Keep the bend of the knee. For me, I need to shorten my stance a little bit. Okay, so pelvic floor, low belly drawn in and up. Sternum and pubic bone towards each other. Front ribs to back ribs. Now keep that and turn the whole thing up. And feel how then you get a little bit of length in the back body as well as the front body. And you're stretching fully, more authentically into the pose. Take one more breath. And then exhale, release the hands down, back to dog. You can hold, you can rest, you can always come through Vinyasa. Okay, come out to your plank. Shoulders right over the wrists. Push the floor away. Let arms nice and strong. Cover the left toes. Exhale, draw the left knee up between the elbows, lift away from the floor. Inhale, stretch and straighten. Good. Exhale, sternum to pubic bone, front ribs to back ribs, pelvic floor in. Inhale, stretch the leg out. Last one, pull in, lift up, step it forward. Should make that step in a little bit easier. Do you guys feel that? It does for me. Inhale, come on up, spin your back heel down, warrior 2, second side. Bend the left knee, point it straight ahead. Right leg straight and firm. And then, again, just use the energy wisely. Just enough toning effort to keep you upright into the pose, to keep you strong, to keep the joints feeling safe. And then that full bloom expression, like the cactus flower. Exhale, forearm onto the thigh, right arm over the ear. Good. Pelvic floor draws in and up, low belly tones. Truth. Sternum and pubic bone draw towards each other. Connect to the wisdom that's there. Front ribs to back ribs. What's important to you? What's in your gut? How do you want to be here in the world? Then keep the whole thing, spin it up towards the sky and stretch down through the legs, out through the arms, long through the spine. Full stretch. Good. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. Hold or flow. Step or hop, Uttanasana. Exhale, fold deeply. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then come all the way up. Reach up. Exhale, Samasthiti. Hands to the heart, just close your eyes. Land into your breath. Good, release your hands. All right, so we haven't been working a lot of inversions as we've been at home, but I want to give this opportunity for either coming to the wall to do an L pose, which is a half handstand, and I can show you that, or kicking up into handstand. So if you're doing an L, just moving my screen out of the way, your hands are heel distance from the wall, right? If you have a wall that you can do this on, you're coming up to hip height, and you're pressing your body into a square. So there's L, and then you can do one leg up at a time. Or if you're feeling confident to kick up into a handstand, you can do that. Now, if none of that's in your wheelhouse for today, come into a dog pose and just work these actions that we've been working on. Okay, so there's your options. L pose, I see some of you there already, look great. Handstand, kicking up, or just come into a dog. Rest is always optional. It's always an optional step. I'm sure that looks great. Good, Denise. Jackie, bring your shoulders forward more. Yeah. Yeah, start with shoulders more over wrists as you're kicking up, and then it's not as much of like a big momentum swing. If you start with the shoulders more forward, right, then you're not having to swing as much. All right. Looks like most of you are finishing, so find your way back over to your mat. We'll do a little standing sequence. Okay, so if your hamstrings are on the tighter side, you can put a block, or even 2 blocks would be good to put at the top edge of your mat here, towards where the right foot is going to be for a standing sequence. All right. Step your feet wide apart. Good. Make your legs nice and strong. Have your the center of your left ankle pointing straight at your second toe, and then pivot on your right heel so your right knee is pointing towards your second toe on the right side, and come back to your warrior 2. Inhale the arms up. That's it. Draw in, to an inner knowing, an inner truth, and then express that through your pose. We're going to come to a deeper Bakasana. So take your right hand to a block by the right foot or to the floor outside the right foot. Now, of course, if it's too much, you always can just stay right here in that first version, right? All right, right hand to the floor or a block, preferably. Good. Apply your truth, your wisdom, your values, and then spin the whole thing a little more open. Draw the left shoulder more over the right shoulder. Take your gaze up. Take your top hand now up towards the ceiling. Look down and bring all of your awareness into your right foot. So get really steady into the right foot. We're going to come to Ardha Chandrasana. So that right hand can go out forward onto a block or just out onto the floor. Now, engage those three actions in the core before stepping forward. So, sternum to pubic bone, pelvic floor toning, front ribs to back ribs. Now come forward and see if that helps you to feel a little steadier as you're floating out over that right leg. Nice. Stretch long through the top arm. Stretch your top leg straight, spreading out the toes. And then keeping all those actions of the core, turn and look up if you've got your balance. Turn and gaze upwards, maybe even lean back, maybe a little baby back bend. Okay, exhale to standing split. So right hand comes down, pivot over the left hip, right toes point down towards the floor. So the leg will come a little bit lower probably. Spin up your inner right thigh. Now you can stay two hands on the floor or on blocks, or you can take your left hand behind your left calf and use that to draw you a little bit deeper into your forward bend and to stretch your leg a little taller. The right hand is off to the side slightly, just creating a little kickstand for balance. Okay, release your left hand if you're holding. And now cross your right leg behind your left leg. So it's pinky edge of the foot towards each other. Step it back and wide enough that you can get both your legs straight. You may need to put your hands up on blocks for that, right? If the hamstrings are feeling a little bit tight, hands on blocks is helpful. Okay, now draw your outer right hip back a lot. And feel the sides of the waist lengthen evenly. Fold over the front leg, both legs. Okay, inhale and lengthen your spine. We're going back to Ardha Chandrasana. So walk your right hand forward onto a block or onto the floor. Engage the core as we've been doing all morning, and then lift the left leg back up behind you and stretch the left arm up. Beautiful. We're stepping back to triangle pose. Bend your standing leg. Step the foot way back to the back of the mat. Straighten your front leg. Beautiful, guys. Pressing down into your feet. Inhale and come up. And exhale, release your hands. Good. Turn your feet forward. So hopefully, what I'm hoping and what I'm finding for myself is connecting into those three aspects of the core through the transitions makes them a little bit steadier. And connecting to truth, to wisdom, to values helps me in my life to feel grown up, to feel more mature. All right, starting in Warrior Two with the left foot up. Right ankle in line with the second toe in your left foot. Bend into your, with your right foot, bend into your left knee. Warrior Two. We often think of warriors as like the young, fierce fighters. But as I was running this morning, and the only people out running at 6:30 in the morning are the old people, I was thinking, these are the warriors, because it takes so much more to get out of bed. The older you get, right? At that time in the morning, so much more. Bakasana, left hand to the floor or onto a block. Yeah. So we're trying to go a little bit deeper into our side angle. That's it. Then engage pelvic floor and low belly, sternum towards pubic bone, front ribs towards the back rib. Don't overly round. Pull the left shoulder blade onto the back. And keeping those actions in the front of the body, now lean back. Stretch, full bloom in the pose. From here, Ardha Chandrasana, top arm, top hand to the ceiling. Now keep those actions in the belly. That's going to help the transition here. Left hand goes out. Right leg floats up.
half moon. That's it. Stretch long through the arms and the legs. And whether you're in a waxing moon or a waning moon phase of your half moon, let it be the brightest and most radiant one that it can be. Okay, standing split. Left hand down to floor blocks. You can always put the hands onto blocks here. Rotate the inner left thigh up. Right thigh is right over the ankle, so the bones are stacked. If you want, right hand comes behind the calf, drawing you in a little deeper. You could stay with the hands on the floor. Maturity is wisdom, right? Maturity is knowing what's the right move, what's the next right move, and trusting yourself and not questioning it. Exhale, right hand down. Cross the left, your lifted leg behind. That's your right leg. Fold over the legs. Draw your front leg hip. I think that's your left leg. Your left leg hip back, so the hips are level. And again, have your feet wide enough and spaced enough that the feet are really pressing evenly. Okay, back to Ardha Chandrasana. Lengthen your spine, look forward, take that right hand down in front. Now engage. Truth, wisdom, values in the belly. Float up the back leg. Unfurl. Full bloom with acceptance of yourself as a mature being at whatever age you are. Trikonasana from here. Bend the standing leg, reach the right foot way back, land it, and then spin the heart over. Good. Pressing into your feet. Inhale, come on up. Parallel the feet. And step the feet together. Good. Okay, let's take a standing hip stretch. If you're feeling like you need some support for balance, you can go near a wall or near a piece of furniture. If you're good, if your balance is feeling steady today, then you can just stay right where you are. All right, bend your knees, send your hips back. Make a little shelf with your left leg and cross your right ankle on top. Good, flex your right foot. Your left foot really strongly. No, it's your right foot. Your right foot. Sorry, I'm confusing myself. I can't look at the screen. All right, here, forearms onto the shins or hands down to the floor for a deeper stretch. Okay, now apply the 3 principles we've been working on. So inner thighs back, tailbone in slightly, pelvic floor drawing in and up. Sternum and pubic bone towards each other. Front ribs to back ribs. Sit deeper. Use all of those actions in the core, in the trunk, to stand yourself back up and uncross. You all look very steady. Second side. Bend the knees, hips back. Good. Left ankle crosses on top. Left toes spreading out so the foot is flat. The pinky edge of the foot drawing back. And then lean forward. Yep. Forearms onto the shins or elbows onto the shins. Hands to the floor if that's available to you. Yeah. That's good. Work the inner thighs wider and broader. Drop the tailbone, toe in the pelvic floor. Subtle action of sternum and pubic bone towards each other, front ribs to back ribs, and then keep all of those actions. Use that to help lift you back up. And step the foot to the floor. Okay, well done. Step wide again. One more warrior 2 stance. We're going to take humble warrior this time. So set up your legs. Sweep the hands behind the back. Place the hands together. So in these forward bending poses, you get some of this action for free, right? This core engagement, but you can work it in a way that's more supportive, right? So stretch your arms straight back behind. Exhale, bow forward, head towards the big toe, hands to the sky. Now work those actions more strongly. Tailbone in, pelvic floor drawing in and up, sternum and pubic bone towards each other, and front ribs to back ribs. Lining up, truth, wisdom, values, and let the outer form of the pose be the fullest expression of that alignment that you can create today. And it takes cultivation, right? That alignment takes cultivation. And when we do those actions, that's what we're working. Okay, keep that, all those three going in your core, and then inhale and come up. See if it makes it a little easier, a little lighter. It does for me. All right, second side, humble warrior. Left foot out. Right ankle lined up with the second toe. Bend the left knee. Switch the lace of the hands, put the other pinky finger on top, so it's the awkward hand hold. Stretch your arms straight back behind. Exhale, fold. So you can let gravity do the work, right? Or you can actively play those cards you've been dealt. Tailbone in, pelvic floor drawing up, sternum and pubic bone together. Breathe into the back body as you draw the front ribs to the back ribs and expand. And feel a fullness into the back as you stretch your arms up and draw the shoulder blades in. Good. Keep all those three alignment points and come on back up to stand. Good. Parallel the feet. All right. We're going to work Skandasana from standing. So usually we come from Ardha Chandrasana when we come into Skandasana, but we're going to come from standing today. So we'll play with that. Turn the right foot out, not as much as you would for warrior. Maybe, I don't know, what's this angle, like 45 degrees? Turn it out a little bit. And then bend the right knee. We're going to keep the left foot on the floor. So the right knee is still pointing straight at the second toe. The inner thighs are going back. Now, I want you to bring your right arm so that that right hand is going to land right inside your right foot. And your right inner knee is going to kiss the outer right armpit. That's it. Then plant your left hand right under your left shoulder. Good. Now, sternum to pubic bone, tailbone in. Front ribs to the back ribs, back waistline puffing up. Wisdom, values, truth. Lean forward a little bit, come on the tiptoes of your right foot. And then maybe squeeze that right heel up off the floor using the lift of the belly to help you do that. Yeah, so it's like a half crow. It's like a half crow with that right leg. Yeah, crow pose with your right leg. Or not. Good. Inhale, come on back up. Yeah, and even if the toes don't come off the floor, like you're still getting a really good hip stretch there, right? Okay, left foot turns out just slightly. Yep. Bend into the left knee. Come forward with a long spine, inner thighs back. Then right hand is going to come right inside the right leg. The right inner knee is going to touch the outer upper right armpit. Left hand, right hand plants on the floor. Now engage those 3 points, truth, wisdom, values, all that's important to you, all that you know, the reality of who you are. Come up onto the tiptoes of the left foot, lean forward. And then maybe those left toes want to lift up, maybe the left heel towards the left sit bone, like a half crow leg. Good, plant that foot back down if it's up, and then let's fold to center. Parallel the feet. Now, Prasarita Padasana. Folding forward. So again, even here, we want the spine to stay long. We want the inner thighs to stay back. But what helps to really facilitate a nice deep forward bend is a slight little engagement in the core. So do that here. Fold in with acceptance. That's maturity, accepting exactly where you are, who you are. No excuses, nothing to prove. Inhale, walk your hands forward. Keep that lift in the belly. Come on, all the way up. Good. Step your feet together. Take a little march. Okay, face the short side of your mat so you have space behind you. Go wide with your feet. We're going to come into squat pose. So if you need a prop, like a blanket under your heels, or if you want a block to sit down onto, you can have a block nearby for that support. All right, your toes can turn out a little bit here. The most important thing is the knees stay pointing towards the toes. So start to shift your hips back. If you're dealing with a knee story or a hip story, you're staying up high. If you can go low, keep letting your hips drop down. And take elbows to inner knees. Yeah, Karen, go much wider with your feet for this one. Just go to a wider squat. Yeah, there you go. So you get a little bit. Good. Squeeze.
inner knees to upper armpits. Broaden, nice Virginia, good. Denise, everybody looks great. Allison, good. Then broaden the collarbones, lift your chest. And then keeping the length of the spine, engage those 3 actions we've been working all morning. And we're going to take this into Navasana. So if you engage those 3, pelvic floor in, low belly toning, sternum and pubic bone together, front ribs to back ribs. Slowly just let yourself release down. If you need to use hands, but if not, drop your bottom, lift your feet and your arms. I lost my balance. Stretch the arms and the legs as straight as you can. So maybe they're straight, maybe they're bent, that's okay. Pull the shoulder blades onto the back. And then slowly pull the belly in and lower yourself down. Nice and easy. Good. Stretch out onto your back. And take a moment to catch your breath. If you want to reach your arms up overhead and just give a stretch to the torso. Those muscles have been working hard today. If you need a little stretch elongation, you can do that. Okay, just a little abdominals here on the floor. I know we've done a lot of core today. We're going to do a little bit more, just in service of one more pose. Hands behind the head, supporting the back of the neck. Lift your feet up off the floor. Hug your legs together. Bring your legs into a right angle, and we're just going to do 5 crunches, working the top end. So your bottom end is going to stay stable. You're going to exhale, lift shoulders, neck, and head, and then inhale and lower back down. Yep, just basic crunch. Exhale, sternum to pubic bone, front ribs to back ribs, pelvic floor, low belly toning. Inhale, lower. 3 to go. The breath helps here also. The deep exhale engages the transverse abdominis, which is that deepest layer of abdominal muscle. Okay, good. Rest for a moment, rest your head. You can hug your knees or put your feet on the floor, whatever feels like a better rest position for you. Okay, now we're going to work the lower end. So we're going to keep the upper end stable, and we're going to try to work the bottom attachment of the abdominals. So legs back, you can do this 2 ways. You can do this with knees bent, you can do this with legs straight. So if the hamstrings are on the tighter side, knees bent will probably feel a little easier. All right, lift your head and shoulders off the floor. They stay steady right there. With your next exhale, squeeze your hips off the floor. Just try to lift your hips a few inches up. Don't swing. Inhale, slowly lower. Exhale, squeeze. Pubic bone to sternum. Lift the hips. Inhale and lower. A few more just like that. Squeezing the hips off the floor. Inhaling to release. Last 2. See if you can keep the upper body really stable. Try not to swing the legs. And just use these actions that we've been working this morning. And of course, if your truth, your wisdom, your values is saying this is not right for you, then maturity says, sit it out. Do something else. Take a rest. Okay, good. Last one. All right, rest. Pulling the knees in. If you want to do a little circling, you can do that. Okay. Get a little momentum going. Rock yourself up to seated. All right, and then let's work on crow pose a little bit. Let's work on Bakasana. So I think everybody knows, but I'll show quickly. We're going to come with toes touching and knees wide. I'll show the full pose, and then I'll show some other options for you. Hands outer shoulder distance apart, just like dog, fingers spreading nice and wide, arms strong. Okay, then knees up to the outer upper arms, and you lean forward. Now you pause, and you work those actions. Tailbone, and do you see that, guys? So if I'm here, it feels very heavy. It feels like, how can I get my feet off the floor? But I tap into truth, wisdom, values. Tailbone in, sternum and pubic bone together, back body lifts, and then my feet, it almost just lifts my feet off the floor for me, doing those actions, right? It makes it so much lighter and so much easier. All right, here's another option. You can also come off of a block. For this, it might be easier to access some of that stuff if you start up a little higher. So that just looks like this. Toes on the block, same thing.
You lean forward, and then your hips are up already. You can work those actions, and it might be easier to lift a foot or two. All right, give it a go. Squat, heels, feet together. If you're sitting it out, you can just sit in a squat or anything else you want to do. Good. Bring your knees to your upper arms, spread out your fingers. Grip the fingers into the mat strongly. And then lean forward just a little bit. Keep your head up. Don't let your head drop down. Good. Then engage. Values, wisdom, truth, and lift. One foot, the other foot. Yeah. That was good, Karen. Try it with your head up so that so you don't fall into your head. Nice, Jackie. Now lift your heels, Jackie, up. Lift your heels up more. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's it. Good, Denise. Yeah, that's good. All right, rest in Uttanasana when you've had your Bakasana fun. Maybe maturity is saying to you today, I don't need to do that crazy stuff anymore. And if that's what it's saying, that's okay too, right? That's okay too. I'll tell you what, I couldn't do that pose when I was 20 years old. It took me years to do that pose. So like, to me, maturity is, I can still do that. I'm gonna rock it, you know? All right, stretch your legs. We're gonna sit. Come down to sit and stretch the legs out in front of you. Good, Ardha Chandrasana. Step your right foot outside your left knee. You can stay here with the left leg straight, or you can curl your left heel outside of your right hip. Both sit bones even on the floor. That's it. Hug the right knee or cross the outer elbow. Take your right hand behind you. Yes. And then let each breath pulse you deeper into your twist. Pulse you deeper into self-acceptance, into maturity. That looks like the alignment of truth, of wisdom, of values. Inhale to face front. That's it. Switch legs, so uncross. Left foot outside the right knee. Right leg can stay straight, or right heel outside the left hip. Great. Cross the elbow or hug the knee. The full pose is elbow crossed, left hand behind you. Pulse with your breath. Pulse into yourself. To the place that makes no excuses, that has nothing left to prove, that is just here, happy to be here, grateful to be here, grateful for everything that is still available to us. Inhale, release. All right, come down onto your back. Actually, watch me just for a moment. We're going to do just one last quick back bend. We're going to do Matsyasana, but I just want you to watch. It's not a pose we do so much, so I want to make sure we're coming in safely. So here's how you come into the pose. The legs are straight and strong, like one mermaid leg. And then you push your elbows down into the floor. And this is sort of the counter pose to all the abdominal strengthening we were doing. You still keep that engagement in the belly, but you start to let your head drop back. You lift your shoulder blades into your back. Now, some of you might just pause here, right? This is a nice stretch here. If it's safe for you to go onto your head and walk your elbows forward, and you come onto the crown of your head, still pushing the elbows down. You can even do like robot arms, like we do in bridge pose. You can stay here. You can also lift your arms to the sky. That's a fuller, deeper expression if you want to go there. All right, so those are the options. I'll talk you through. Lay back onto your elbows. Stretch your legs out straight. So come on your elbows so you're like half sitting up. Yeah, perfect. You got it. Yeah, now push your elbows down into the floor. Make your legs really strong. Bring your legs together if they're not. And then start to let your head drop back. And see if you're comfortable here. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back. You can walk your elbows towards your hips to come onto the top of the head if it's safe for you to do that for your neck. So if you have a cervical spine issue, I wouldn't bear weight onto your head. Just keep your arms really pressing down. Good. Push your elbows into the floor. Push your shoulder blades up into your heart. If you want to take one breath with your arms stretched out up towards the sky, you can do that, but you don't have to. Nice, you guys. Good. To come out, elbows to the floor. Push strongly down into your arms. Lift your head. And then roll down onto your back.
there's any last pose or movement or stretch your body's looking for, take a moment to do that. You need another little twist or just hugging the knees or a happy baby. Take a moment to answer that call if the body is calling to you. Then begin to stretch yourself out into Shavasana. Relax the body, the big muscles in the legs, torso, the core, the trunk, all those muscles that worked really hard for you today. Let them go, let them release and let go and soften. Relax the smaller muscles in the neck and the shoulders. Relax your face. The skin of your face, smooth itself. The corners of the eyes soften, and the tongue draw back towards the back of the mouth. Let the heartbeat become a little slower. Let the breath become a little more subtle. And let the awareness rest inside, in inner truth and wisdom. Gently deepen your breathing. And to move your body in any way that feels good, allowing it to awaken gently with love. Bend one knee and then the other. And rest onto your side for a couple of breaths. As you're ready, find your way back to seated. Join your hands together at your heart. Above all, to me, maturity is the feeling of no longer having to push so hard, to strive so hard, to work so hard, to prove too much. It's just a softening into life, softening and recognizing that really today is all that we have. And can we just be grateful for the moments that we have, for the things that are good in our lives? Let's end our practice by chanting one Om. Take in a deep breath. Om. Namaste. Thank you all for coming.